guys, and welcome back to Project Z Garage. My name is Ansar and I'm here with my brother Al, and we are continue working on the A4 2.0T motor. Right now we're finishing up all the minor little pieces that have to go on, or maybe not minor. We got the oil filter housing on, oil cooler, we got the crossover pipe for the coolant, we got the oil dipstick back in. As you can see, it's like all the way up in here. Your thermostat housing and everything's over here. What else did we do? I changed out the oil filter while we're here, so that's good. And let's see, what else did we do? Put back on the heat shield, but we still need to tighten that up. There's some little few bolts here and there, which technically we could put on once we get the engine back in the car. While we're at it, I figured I would show you guys us putting the high pressure fuel pump back in. And here we go. There it is. Here's the original one. Let's clear that off a little bit. It doesn't look too bad. A little bit of scuffing on the front, but not too bad. And here's the high pressure fuel pump. You got to replace this O-ring on the body. And while we're at it, because all of the bolts are stretch, they do sell a kit that you can screw like to make it removable. It's just the threaded part goes in here, and then it just uses nuts to secure it. But we went and just bought the whole kit. So as you can see, we have the three, I think these are T30s. I'm gonna have to double check that. The new O-ring and a new cam follower, which we're gonna put some break-in oil or engine lubricant on it, so that, you know, that first startup isn't like dry. So let's start off with taking off the old O-ring and putting a little bit of assembly lube on everything. As you can see here, I'm taking off the old O-ring. You just get a little sharp poker and we could just move it around and it pops right off. It's a good idea to put a little oil on this before you put it on. This way, you know, it doesn't jam or roll over when you put it in the bore. So well, I could do that after that. So there we go. It's on. And oil. And here we have the new cam follower. So what we'll do is, I normally put a little bit behind it, just because the high pressure fuel pump pushes on that side, and I put some on the face. So there we go. You know what, I'm gonna take a little, put it in there. Alright guys, so from the booklet it says this is 7 Newton meters. So we set this to 7 Newton meters. It's about 79 inch pounds, I believe. around there, and we're just gonna slowly tighten it up till we hit that. Guys, so we torqued all our T30 bolts on this, so they're good. Now we're gonna get the banjo bolt underneath the fuel pressure, the high fuel pump, and that is this one here. This is a M8. I don't know if you can see that, but this is the head for it. So this is that triple square sockets, and we're just gonna get this on and then tighten this up, and our high pressure fuel pump is done. Guys, we turned the motor on the side so we can get the oil pan on. We cleaned off the mating surface with some brake cleaner just to get all the oil residue off around the perimeter of it. I just put on a small bead of silicone around the oil pan. So what we're gonna do is try to get this on without too much problems, and just slightly torque it down with the electric gun, not all the way down, and we're gonna do a crisscross pattern from the inside working out, and then we'll do the final torque. Al, what was the torque?
15 millimeters.
15 Newton meters
In a diagonal sequence.
Okay, in a diagonal sequence, and this way we'll get that done, and then we'll work on getting the rear main seal on once we get it off the engine stand. Guys, we've tightened up all of the bolts on the oil pan. As you can see, we put on the oil drain for the turbo. We put a new seal on this, tighten these up. I have a new gasket for this, or O-ring or whatever, so we're going to replace that. I don't really want to torque on this yet because they tell you to wait 30 minutes before you put oil in this, but I want that to kind of tack up and get a little hard before we do any more torquing on the oil pan. So I think we're pretty close. I have to tighten this piece here. This is this brace for the turbo. We have to tighten that, but we'll turn the engine back up. I have to figure out what goes here, but I think that could wait till it's on the car. Once we drop it back down on the car, everything else looks good. Everything's on. I think we got pretty much, the shelf is pretty much clean, so all the parts we have on there are all back on the motor. So let's turn the motor back up and see what other pieces we need to tighten up, and I think the next step is to drop this sucker back into the car and go from there. Guys, we've put the engine on the crane. We've got the rear main seal in. As you can see, we torqued all this down, so that wasn't too bad. There's two at the bottom here that you also have to do. We also put in a brand new pilot bearing. While we're in there, we might as well do that. Now is the fun part. We got to try and get this whole thing back into the car. Everything else looks good. Everything's tight, so we should be all right. We should be okay. But this was pretty easy. This went on really good. Leave the plastic center in. As you push it on, the plastic will come out and it'll stop it from folding over the little lip that's on the inside. So that's a good idea. All right, let me set you guys up and let's try to get this in. Alright guys, so the battery on the camera died yesterday when we were putting the motor in. It was a bad angle anyway, so it wasn't that great, but as you can see, we got the motor back in. We threw on our support beam here just to hold it up because it's just resting in the engine mounts, and we just put a nut on each side just to hold it, but it still can kind of rotate back and forward. So we don't want it to put too much stress on the engine mounts. So I would tell you, definitely put the car into the service position, or even take the whole front off if you can, to make this a lot easier, because it was a pain in the ass to get it inlet this way. We did get it in and we didn't have to take the front off, but it's definitely way harder and you're not going to be able to do it by yourself. If you're doing this by yourself, take the whole front off, you know, do all the safety precautions, get everything mounted properly, and just pull it out through the front if you're able to. But we got most of it in. We ended up doing a little more work. We got the belt on. The power steering was a pain in the ass to get on because there's like a little collar and it's so tight in there. It was a pain, like you had to like literally shake it around until like the bolt caught, and then we got it on, so that's good. We got the alternator back on, the belt's on, so that's good. Now we have this rat's nest of wires. Thank God we have them kind of labeled to put back on the motor. So as you can see, we've got like some of the breather valves and water. This is not water, it's like a vacuum line or something, I don't know. But all that's on. I just shoved these in. I gotta tighten it up. This is loose. I was just making sure that this was all correct, which way it had to go. We're gonna have to find, I have to see where my little zip ties are, because there's a lot of little spots where it needs to get zip tied and put back in place. I do need to replace the whatever the sensor is back here. I broke the tab off of it, so I bought a new one, so that has to come on. I'm still waiting for the hose for the coolant, the rear coolant flange. That's been a while. It's supposed to come in today or tomorrow. Actually, I think it should come in the next couple days. We'll see what happens, because you know how that goes with shipping. But that's what's the only thing holding us up from buttoning up the back of the motor, and then we can start putting the transmission back in. I mean the clutch. Yeah, we got to put the clutch, and we have to replace the slave cylinder because our slave cylinder is ruined. The boot on it is completely trashed, so I got a whole new slave cylinder while we're in here. Might as well change all of that, and all the coolant hoses have to go back on. But we're definitely making a lot of progress. We're pretty much cleared out. Our shelf is pretty much cleared out. All I have is just like random tools, but all that's left is down there, which is the test pipe, the catch can, some of the intercooler hoses, the intake, and then the clutch stuff. So we're definitely doing pretty good. So I will catch back up with you once we get most of these wires connected, maybe do some wire management, try to see if we can clean it up a bit. But everything's looking good. So all right guys, so I think we're gonna call it quits for today on this and for this episode. We started putting all the wires back. It was a pain in the butt. It really was, because you have to remember where the routing of every wire was, and this is why you need to take pictures of everything before you take it apart, because I'm going back and forth on my phone looking at the pictures, seeing where things ran, how it was routed through the motor, and that's pretty much taking up all my time. Like today was literally just trying to figure out where all the wires went. Also, we finished, the part came in for the rear coolant flange, so my brother went and put that in. That was a real big pain in the butt too, because you don't have a lot of space. So the hose is on, so we're pretty good. We just need to figure out where all the wires go in the back, you know, like how much slack needs to be done, if there's any mounts in the back of the motor that needs to be connected to. There's a lot of these zip tie, I guess, wire management things for the harness back there, which we clipped to take the motor out. So we're gonna have to pull those out, put new ones in, and kind of try to make it neat so that nothing's getting snagged on. This is where it's very important to label all your wires, because that made this part a lot easier. There was like 1 or 2 wires where the plugs where we were like, where the hell did this thing go? And from the pictures helped me figure out. One was on the back side of the intake manifold, and then I have one that we didn't label and is right here, which might be going to the transmission. I'm gonna have to take a look again at my other video and see where exactly that one went, but that's the only wire that we don't know where it goes, but it's got to be somewhere. We'll figure it out. One of the clips broke on one of the connectors. I'm gonna see if I can find a replacement just the head of the clip, see if we can replace that, because that will help us on getting that part done. Trying to think what else we need to do before we start buttoning everything up. I wish there was a way. I have to figure out if we can kind of like put all the fluid into the motor and just test for leaks before the transmission goes in. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that or not. We did have another mishap which we're gonna have to fix, which is the neck on the radiator hose on the top that snapped off when, I guess, either when we were putting the motor in or when we were leaning over. We must have braced on it and it broke off in the actual hose, which really sucks. But you know, stuff like this happens when you work on cars. Stuff break. Luckily this piece comes with a new hose, so I might just get a new hose with this piece and we'll just replace it and we should be okay there. You know, as you're doing this, the sucky part is you know, you run across things where you're like, all right, I need to order stuff, and it might be like a little piece that you need, but it's better to order it, get it done properly, than, you know, try to come up with, you know, half-ass way of putting it on, and then it comes back to bite you later on. So I mean, this is the boring part, trying to run all the wires and kind of put everything back together, get all the sensors on. But it's important, you know. It takes a long time, and it's probably what's been taking the longest out of everything we've done, is trying to put everything back in right where it's supposed to be, you know, trying to do it neat. But it's coming along. It's coming along. I'm trying to think what else. We also need to replace the clutch slave cylinder. I don't know if I probably mentioned this in one of the other videos, but I got a new one for that, so that's gonna have to get done too. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow when I have time. I'll show you guys how that's done. That's gonna be a little bit of a pain too, but I'm rambling on right now, so I think we're gonna close it out here, guys. Thanks again for watching. I know these videos are kind of long, but if we can help 1 or 2 people, you know, get through this or figure out something that they get stuck on, you know, it's worth it. I appreciate everyone that subscribed to the channel. We're getting really close to that 1,000 subscriber goal. I think we're at 725 or something. So if you're new to the channel and you like the videos, please hit that subscribe button. It helps us out. It helps us hit that goal of 1,000. And then next, I don't know what the next goal is going to be. Maybe 5,000, 10,000. We'll go from there. But until next time, guys, we'll chat.